Hi everybody, welcome to Line of the Week number 137, Motif Development Using Melodic Rhythms. This week we're continuing to practice developing motifs to improve our solos. Before we get to the line of the week, and so we're all on the same page, here are the chords to the progression. The chords are D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7 to A minor 7 to D minor 7 to G7 to two measures of C major 7, and then to G minor 7, and then to C7. Here are the chord scales I use. I use the notes from the chord scales for two things. First, as a source of notes for improvising, and also to determine tensions that are useful for comping. The chord scales I'm using today are C major to A flat melodic minor to G pentatonic to C pentatonic to C major to A flat melodic minor to two measures of G pentatonic and then to F major and to D flat melodic minor. Here's the melodic rhythm I'm using this week. This motif is from Jerry Bergonzi's book Volume 4, Melodic Rhythms Used with Permission. One exercise is to take the melodic rhythm and apply it to a scale or pattern of your choosing. Then use the motif development tools like variation, extension, fragmentation, rhythmic displacement, diminution, and augmentation to develop it. Here's an example. Here's the line of the week with Guitar Pro backing I use to make sure I'm getting the notes and the rhythm accurate. Let me say a few things about the line of the week. In measure 1, you've got the original motif. I got the original motif by taking the melodic rhythm and putting notes to it. And then I got the notes from the accompanying chord scale. In measure 2, you have a variation of the original motif. In this case, it's the same rhythm with different notes. In measure 3, this is another variation of the original motif, although you could call it a fragment since it ends with only 1/8 note, not 2/8 notes as in the original motif. In measure 4, you have a rest. In measure 5, you've got an extension of a fragment of the original motif. In other words, you have the first few notes of the original motif, and then you extend it with a series of eighth notes. In measure 6, you have the same as measure 5. That is to say, you have a fragment with an extension. In measure 7, you've got the original motif. And then in measure 8, you've got a half-note extension of the original motif. Also, note the points of resolution of tension by half step. At the point of chord change, it's important to resolve non-harmonic tones, meaning avoid notes or disagreeable tones, by half step to an agreeable note. You can resolve tension either directly, meaning immediately, or indirectly within a beat and a half. In other words, at the point of chord change, you only leap from a note if it's agreeable, meaning harmonic, to both the chord of the moment and the next chord. Otherwise, you need to resolve the note, preferably by half step. In this line of the week, we resolve tension at the point of chord change in two places circled in red. Note E under the D minor 7 chord resolves to E flat under the G7 chord to get the altered sound under the G7 chord that I'm going for. And then you have note F under the G7, which is of course a chord tone, and that resolves to note E under C major 7, the third of C major 7. It needs to resolve by half step because of our ear memory. the note F is going to sound under C major 7, and F under C major 7 is a non-harmonic tone. Finally, I would point out that in measure 7, circled in red, there's an upper structure triad, C major triad under the G minor 7 chord. This gives you the root note, which is note G, along with the tensions 11 and 13. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.